Hi guys, this is Elena and I talk about all things INFP. So today we're going to touch on the subject of what are the things that can keep an INFP going. It doesn't matter whether it's COVID-19 or a breakup or just certain things that throw us down in the dumps from time to time. And I'm drawing from personal experience. These are the things that kept me going throughout the years. They have helped me a great deal, and I'm hoping to share it with you and that you can take something away from these. So, I want to start with an INFP's emotional spectrum. I figured that a lot of people tend to get stuck in the depressed phase. So, I'm just going to use this hand as the depressed phase. And this hand would mean the bliss phase of the spectrum, okay? So, a lot of people get stuck here thinking, how the hell do I get out of this? But as an INFP, I just have to tell you that it's actually just as easy for you to enter this phase. And it doesn't take much. For example, sometimes it's just the opening of the window and the seeing of a beautiful crystal clear blue sky. Sometimes it's the setting of the sun. And if there's almost like a whimsical element to INFP's emotional spectrum. And so a lot of people get mired in the depressed phase and think, um, that they're going to be stuck there forever. But they tend to forget that we, out of all the personalities, are the most likely to actually get a glimpse for no reason into the other side of the spectrum. And so sometimes, that's what makes us random, if you will. You remember the times when people look at you and go, "Oh my God, he's completely crazy," or "Oh my gosh, like why is she smiling when everyone else is, when there's nothing particular going on that should make her smile?" Or you remember these moments? These are the elements in INFPs that bring exactly just what I talked about into your life. So I sort of see it as the light at the end of a tunnel. Sometimes we get stuck in certain points in the tunnel that are a bit long winding, and there are times when you wouldn't be able to see the light because it's not straight, but it's simply the fact that you can't see the light now does not mean that you can't see the light later. So it's sort of like, okay, if I'm in a math exam, um, you know, it's like I would never view the option of ending things altogether as the final answer. Why? Because it's not going to solve anything, and it's not going to be more productive. So it's sort of like a rock holding technique, like you're sort of weathering through the storm. Sometimes it's 1 or 2 days, sometimes it's 3 months, sometimes it's even half a year or longer. But you have to know that the light is somewhere at the, it's just that you can't see it right now. It does not mean that it's not there. Another thing I want to mention is passiveness. Now, INFPs are notorious for being passive in the face of life, and I'm speaking as a true INFP. We might take over the steering wheel from time to time, but many, many times we let things come to us and we don't stop them. So I think it's time to take accountability of that and think about what are the actual things that you've tried or changed, or what did you do to actually get yourself out of the situation. It doesn't matter whether you're depressed or just not content with something in your life. Now with COVID-19, these are the things that I've started doing over the past few months. I did actually realize that I was more depressed than before, what with the weather changing and it's in Taipei especially, it rains really frequently in the winter. So one thing that I found myself doing, and this is actually by accident, I just started finding myself waking up earlier each day, and that has made a big difference. So the days are longer, and I have more time to do the things that I want to do. And actually, that stretching of the daytime made a big difference just psychologically because, well, it has been scientifically proven that people are generally more happy in like when there's sunlight, right? So you do want to, you can take some baby steps to work towards that. The second thing that I've done is I started making myself more homemade meals. when in the past I would have ordered food delivery. And it does make a difference because when you're making homemade meals, you can take your mind off things that are, I tend to think that people are so busy nowadays, they forget to live, they forget to be in the present. Now, being in the present is not that hard. What does it take? Putting some ingredients into a pot and then watching it simmer over a low flame, and that's just really therapeutic. Another thing that I've tried is I have 2 canvases at the wall on my living room, and I'm planning to make a panorama of a picture of Venice. It's going to be in the form of a mosaic, so it's going to be a grand ongoing project. It's probably going to run on for 3 to 4 months, but I'll show it to you guys once I finish it. I'm just really excited. So this is also a good time to be creative and see what you can do with that. So changing the atmosphere in your house, I think, is so important for INFPs. I think especially for INFPs, sometimes it's the lighting, sometimes it's, the tiniest of things can make a big difference. So unless you've tried all the things that you can, I will actually take that as a form of laziness when you haven't even seen it all. You know what I mean? Another thing that I found myself doing over the years that has helped me a great deal is the sentence, I don't have to this way. Okay, so you can fill in the blanks with whatever verb you found most applicable to the situation or the difficulties that you're facing. So for example, when I was in a shitty job, I used to say to myself, Elena, you don't have to work this way. And I eventually found myself taking actions that aligned with what I was telling myself. So I found a job that I liked, and I could persevere with passion. So it works for everything. If you're not happy with the person you're with, you can always tell yourself, you don't have to love this way. Okay? And, you will start seeking out other options that'll help you. And the action of saying this to yourself repeatedly on a daily basis. So I used to say, I don't have to work this way when I was commuting. If you say it enough times, eventually you will find a way to take action to grant yourself that promising future. So even though I know that a lot of people are stuck at home with COVID-19, I believe that there are different ways you can tell yourself this sentence to make your life better, even if it's just for a little bit each time. So for example, I don't have to sleep this way. I don't have to, like if you're experiencing insomnia. There are some fabulous YouTubers or channels that the links for which I'm going to put in the description box below that has really helped me. So for example, I've been watching Lisa Chi's videos, although she hasn't updated for a while, but I believe that, I'm not sure if some of you have already subscribed to her channel. This is weird. I'm actually promoting other people's channel, but whatever. I love her channel so much. It's very soothing, and it just provides this parallel world out there that I know is ongoing besides mine. And being able to take a glimpse into that world is just really first eye-opening and really soothing and just really helpful for your overall well-being. The second thing, if you're suffering from insomnia, you can subscribe to Michael C. Lee's channel. He's a great hypnotizer, and oh my gosh, I have never slept so well in a long time. So he's got a really deep and soothing voice that'll automatically put you to sleep like a baby. Okay. There were also certain times when I would take snapshots in life. I'm really sidetracking here, but I would take snapshots in life when I was really happy. So for example, I remember taking this, it was a mental snapshot actually, of a time when, my father used to work in Marshall Islands, and I sat there by the ocean, and there was this beautiful sunset with the clouds, the clouds were in all of these different colors, and I had the urge to go back into my room and grab some pastels, but I didn't eventually because I was so afraid that the sun was gonna set already after I came back. So I just sat there and I took this huge mental snapshot of that sunset, and it was still with me today. There was another snapshot that I took when I was in Canberra, and I remembered stepping out into the balcony one night, and I saw it was a night with really great wind gusts, and so the wind was blowing in my direction. But it was a full moon that day, and the clouds were coming my way. So it was almost like a cinematic experience. So the clouds were flowing and bubbling up and down whilst the moon was shining, and it was just such a magnificent picture. And I took that mental snapshot, and I still remember it to this day, and I would just recall it from time to time. So the fact that you know that there's this other place out there that's just so beautiful is enough to keep me going. I don't know whether, like, how many times did you actually conjure an image in your mind? How many snapshots have you taken throughout your life to sort of, just make a point to remember them? Now, this video is really getting a bit longer than I expected, but I'm still going to touch on the subject of suicide. Now, I know that some people might think that, or most people might think that by ending their existence on Earth, they are also terminating along with it their memories. Now, whilst there is no scientific evidence of spiritual life after death, the reverse cannot be proven either. So I am actually really skeptical about this point of view. Which means, if you were going to end your life prematurely, then all you're going to have left are the memories. And if you haven't tried, these are going to be memories in pain, which you have left on your earthly existence. What I would tend to do, or what I want to strive to do, is to conjure or create as many worthwhile, beautiful, and memorable memories before I die. So that eventually, on the day I go, because life is going to run its course no matter what, I don't have to rush it, right? And there's no way I can delay it. So I want to be able to, by the end of a day, look at life or death straight in the eye and say, I've tried, and make it worthwhile. So again, ending it all would not be the answer if you look at things this way. If you're going to bring all the memories you had, do you want your last memory to be a sad one? Do you want your last memory to be one where you haven't tried your best? Lastly, I want to share an account of, well, it's not a near-death experience. It's actually nowhere near that. But, there are times when suicidal thoughts come across your mind in the form of flashes. They might not linger for long, but it's enough to sort of push you to venture out just that tiny little bit to sort of get a glimpse at it. I'm sure some of you have experienced this. You've looked into the edge over the rail thinking, how does it feel? You've probably looked at a flame and said, how does it feel? Now, venturing too far off the edge would, of course, lead to suicide. But, so there was this time when I was really depressed, a few years back, and what happened was I went to the harbor, and that's actually where I later surfed for years, but it was on a dreadful late October afternoon, and I remembered it was really overcast. There was no one by the beach, no one that day, but it was, the lifeguards are gone. I think they were gone since the end of September, so there are no lifeguards on the beach. But it's one of these days when the surfing shop is still, they're still open and you can still rent some surfboards. And I remembered going up to them. I traveled from Taipei to Yilan on a coach. It was a 90-minute ride, and I just went to the beach randomly, thinking I want to experience a little bit of what it's like, although I know that I might not succeed, but I just want to feel I just want to edge a little closer to it. And it was a great day to be doing that day, because the wind gusts were picking up and the waves were actually quite big. And the fact that there was no one at the beach is enough to make an INFP cringe. And it's not one of these beaches where the sand is, white and beautiful. The harbor is famous for its black sand. So the beach was, well, black, and the sea was really dark as well, and it's overcast. So you can imagine. I remember signing this disclaimer, you're responsible for everything that happens out there. And the staff members checked with me 3 times, making sure that I actually knew how to surf. I've only taken one surfing lesson at Bondi, Sydney, prior to that, but I said yes in a really calm and collected manner that INFPs often give off. And they trusted me, and they trusted that I knew what I was doing, and I picked up my surfboard and went to the beach. Now, I know that sounds nowhere like a near-death experience, but when I literally went there and stepped into the icy cold October ocean, now you have to take into account that actually in Taiwan there's this superstitions, and we actually take it quite seriously, that there are spirits under the water that will gladly take one's life to swap for his own reincarnation, if you will, if the person is weak enough. It could be on a physical or emotional level. Okay, but as I was stepping into these waters, and I could feel how cold it was, and the dark waters just gushing up at me, and all of a sudden I became really connected to the moment. It's really hard to put it down in words, but I became so connected to this moment that there was a strong sense of fear running throughout me like an electric current, and it was so strong that I was shocked. And looking back, it's almost a form of respect. So I would say that fear is a form of respect. For a moment, I felt that I glimpsed into the essence of life and what it's about. And for a moment, I figured that I did not want to die. I was really depressed, and yes, I wanted to edge a little closer to it, but when I really saw it, I did not want to die. And I know that a lot of people might have some suicidal thoughts, but also, trust me, how many of them actually regretted right before they died? You wouldn't want to experience 1 millisecond of that. I mean, regret is regret. Regret is something that you don't want. And you're going to bring that to, again, this follows from the last point, your next life or your lingering memories. And I don't want any one of you to experience that. Like, you don't have to edge closer to death in order to figure out what life is about. But what I guess I did in that moment was I was really connected to the present. I was so connected that for a moment I realized what life was about. And there are so many ways that you can be connected to the present, but it's just that it came in such a strong wave that moment. So it literally hit me, and I remembered walking back up after being there for like about 10 minutes. It felt like an eternity to me. And walking back up, actually exhausted with the board, and just going back to the shop and saying, okay, I can't surf today. I'm returning it now. What a day. But there are so many ways that you can stay connected to the present. Meditating, practicing mindfulness. I think you should really try everything in your power, and so much more. So these are the thoughts that I wanted to share today. It's a very dark topic, but, well, that's what I do. So Let me know if you have any questions, or if there are some other topics that you would like me to talk about. I'd be really glad to touch on these. So have a good day.